Hi, this is Lindy Kaiser with clearancejobs.com. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar with Booz Allen, talking to the leaders behind dynamic aerospace programs at Booz Allen. We will get started in just a few minutes, but for now, we just want to let you know that we are getting ready to start. We'll be launching the broadcast shortly. Grab a cup of coffee, sit back and relax.
Maybe we're back.
Nick, great, I hear you.
Okay, well, I have 3 p.m. Eastern time. I've never been on time a day in my life. Anybody who knows me will know that, but I do try to start a webinar on time to be cognizant of everyone's time and calendar. So again, this is Lindy Kaiser of Clearance Jobs. I thank you so much for joining us for this webinar with the leaders behind aerospace programs at Booz Allen. This is a great time to be talking about aerospace. I'm a bit of a closet or by osmosis space geek, so I'm excited about the things that are going on at NASA and with space this week. Had a call with Space Force last week. I know they're doing a ton of exciting things there. There are a lot of really innovative missions to support. And I think a lot of folks are interested in these career paths and might not realize that Booz Allen has a great career path into aerospace and space and a lot of really exciting careers. So we're joined today with Matt McGuire, Principal for the Defense Space Market at Booz Allen, Michelle Harper, a Principal and Solutions Architect at Booz Allen, Nick Abercrombie, a Senior Systems Engineer with Booz Allen, and then also Olivia Krasinski. She is a recruiter with Booz Allen, and so she will be here to answer all of those questions about the Booz Allen hiring process. So I thank you all so much for joining me today to talk about this. Again, we love questions that come in. So just if you have a question, if you're an attendee, you can put those questions into the question box on the side of your screen. We will get to as many of those as we can as we're going through the conversation today. So don't hold your questions till the end. As we're discussing and having this conversation, if you have a question, if a question comes to mind, definitely please join in. Please put your questions into that question field, and we will try to get them answered today. That's one of the benefits of this webinar format, is that we try to be engaging and conversational, so you have the chance to interface with these leaders. Don't miss out on this opportunity to ask your questions. So with that, I just want to kind of give an overview. So I admit I'm a Pentagon geek. When I think Booz Allen, I kind of think of the typical consulting track. Talk about your aerospace mission. What are you doing in the aerospace field? Why is Booz Allen a great place to work in aerospace? What does that kind of career track look like? I want to start with you, Matt.
Yeah, no, thanks. We support, so what is aerospace? How do we define it? We usually focus on specific client areas. We call them markets. But that would include, for aerospace, the Air Force, the United States Space Force, and NASA. That's what we have in our portfolio. And our mission, we see it as we take on our client's mission, whatever it takes to make them successful. And Lindsay, what you mentioned about, you think of the Pentagon as your typical consulting, that is still our heritage of what we've been doing for over 100 years with that traditional consulting type of work. But we've been moving more and more to technical work, engineering services. We are building solutions. We have IRAD money now, where we are funding our own advanced solutions to tackle client challenges. And that's not just unique to aerospace, that's happening across all of our markets. But I would say if you're trying to understand what Booz Allen is doing, we are doing still some of that consulting work, but we're moving more and more technical.
Great. And then same question for you, Michelle. Kind of define what aerospace looks like for Booz Allen.
Sure. And just to piggyback on Matt, as we get into the technical side of things, I'm on the technical team. So I'm a solutions architect with the firm. And what I focus on is really data and software. My educational background is in computer science, and I developed for satellite ground systems. As we, satellites have a kind of state of health side and a payload side, and I've done software development for both. And really what that means is we're looking for folks that are into data and software, and that can be commercial type capabilities for data as a service or platform as a service. And it's really getting the data to the right operators to defend the satellites in space. That's really what we're talking about. And we have to apply a lot of technologies and a lot of capability to be able to do that. So I don't know, Nick, did you have anything else to add on that technical side, that technical note?
Yeah, I think the one piece I have to add, so hi, Nick. I'm also on the technical side of Booz Allen. The flavor I would add to it is that I think we do a couple flavors of technical work. One is on, we do some really, really technical support of the government type of things, really adding to data solutions. I don't want to call it quite friend of the government type of role, but highly technical stuff to really support the government. We also have different side of our business, which is doing more delivery. So I always think about closer to like a traditional, say like a Lockheed or a Raytheon, where as you both talked about, we're building stuff and selling it to the government. So instead of selling our expertise and our people as the experts, which we still do, we're also selling more on the, I'm bringing you this rock, I'm bringing you this solution, I'm bringing you this widget. And so you're paying me for the thing versus paying me specifically for my time and effort and my labor. And that's really on the technical side where my expertise and passion is at, is yes, technical, but in delivering those solutions. So I think we kind of blend out how those things balance. And there's really a lot of different paths here, given that.
Awesome. So now we know Booz Allen. Now I need to get to know all of you a little bit better. So I kind of want you to walk through your specific roles, what kind of you do directly in support of this aerospace mission. Again, I'll start with you again, Matt. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I come from a background of requirements with the Air Force. I worked for the Air Force for 13 years, doing everything from a requirements definition, programming, planning, budgeting, those types of things. So I learned a lot at all the way from base level, major command, all the way up to where my last assignment was at the Pentagon before I started with Booz Allen. So that gave me a good foundation of how the Air Force worked across from support organizations to mission organizations. That's morphed me into what I'm doing today, which is I'm more of a business development, business strategy person, whereas Michelle and Nick, they're really technical, and they can still get on and design things, and they have teams that design things. My role is more understanding what they're doing and understanding what client challenges are that those solutions can be linked to, and talking to those clients to try to help them meet their mission objectives.
And then same to you, Michelle.
Oh, great. So my background's a little bit different. I was never in the military. I actually played basketball, women's basketball in college, small school. I was Division II. Wasn't that good. I'm not that tall. So from there, mathematics degree, and then I decided, this computer stuff's pretty cool. I'm going to start getting into computers. So right out of college, I was hired by Lockheed Martin and then Northrop Grumman, and then came over to Booz Allen. And I do the solution side. I do the implementation. And so with Booz Allen now, I implement those data and software solutions part of my day. A lot of my day is really making sure that I'm training the Booz Allen staff into the state of technology for data and software. To meet, like Matt's talking about, the business need and what does our country really need right now to defend space satellites. And then, I obviously do some business development to be sure that the staff that we have are doing meaningful, interesting work. And it is a state of technology. We're using commercial products, COTS products, as well as other type custom products to get the right solution to the client. That's really what I'm focusing on.
And then same to you, Nick.
Thanks. So I've been with Booz Allen for almost 14 years now. Prior to that, I worked for Raytheon for about 5 years. And so I've got some experience kind of on, like Michelle and like Matt, kind of on a few different places, but have been here quite a while. My background originally was, I think I put my title here, Senior Systems Engineer, was originally in GPS systems. So I know a whole lot about how GPS operates, how it works, the satellites, the ground systems, the user equipment, things of that nature. And it's kind of interesting how, at least to me, it's my career, how things morph a little bit. So, was very, very involved in systems engineering, got somewhat roped into a program management job, ended up loving that. That was really, really fun for a software delivery project. And, at the time looked at, say, IT infrastructure, so cloud computing, sort of on-premise infrastructure, virtualized infrastructure is, well, that's cool. That's the commodity. And I got, 2 people on my team. I just call them and tell them to fix the computers, and they're, I can deliver my software. I learned that wasn't true. It's much, much harder, as it turns out, and much, much more valuable when you do it really well. And so, with the exception of apologies to some of my early colleagues, I really got into the infrastructure side. So, like Michelle talked about, hey, this computer stuff is pretty cool. Let's go explore that. I was really able to kind of, I don't want to call it transition my career, right? They're sort of tangential things, but evolve my career with a real focus on infrastructure and secure infrastructure. How do we deliver that? How do we look at that from a cloud perspective? What are the pluses and minuses of having a cloud-based infrastructure, particularly on the secure side? And been able to really evolve into that. And that's kind of where my passion is right now.
Awesome. I love it. Just a reminder, if you have questions, please don't wait till the end. Drop them into the questions box. We will harass these people with your questions throughout just to keep them on their toes. So again, they are more than ready to take your questions. Want to pivot to you again, Michelle, and talk a little bit about some of the challenges that Booz Allen is solving in this space. When you have solutions architect in your title, you're just bound to get that question. So what are some of the kind of challenges in aerospace that you're tackling?
We've definitely got some challenges, and we need people to help us with these challenges. So a lot on the software and data side. So software is ever changing, and the technologies are ever changing. And so how do you have a stable solution for years to come through the constant change and innovation of software? So you have to be innovative on all sides. But again, in these major programs that have millions and billions of dollars invested in these satellites and ground systems, how do you really produce the right solution that the government can financially perform, that the people that are executing that contract and executing that have familiarity? You're not going to choose a random custom piece of software that only 3 people in the world know how to develop on. you're going to select something that a lot of people can develop on so that we have a good workforce as we continue to upgrade. Some other challenges are, we've been doing this for a while, to be honest. I've been in space for 20 years. I know that it's a big hot topic now with the Space Force coming out, which is, I can tell people what I do now. Great. Well, we've been doing this for 20 years. So some of the network, some of the software is a little bit aging, and we have to modernize it in the right way and continue operations. We have a lot of capability, and we have to continue that operations through the innovation, through the technology advances. And I mean, honestly, servers die. And we're going to the cloud. And how do you kind of change that? And then ultimately working with the strategists like Matt, combining our technical skills with the strategists to say, and we need all people. We need both sides. We need a well-rounded, diverse workforce to say together, how can we solve this problem? Sometimes it's a technical tool that can solve that problem. Sometimes it's not. And so it's really having a well-rounded person that can combine and can bring interesting solutions and interesting thoughts as we all work together to, really protect our satellites, protect our country in times when other countries or people are trying to be too aggressive. I think that's a political way to say it. So it's really just, the challenges are both technical, but it's then working with everybody in a collaborative way, I think is the challenge. And then obviously capabilities being delivered. We have to deliver capabilities now. It's not tomorrow. It's not in 2 years. Now there's a sense of urgency that we need people to really understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a hot topic. We have Space Force, we have Top Gun Maverick, we have a lot going on in the aerospace community. So a question came in, like an entry-level person. So obviously you guys are just ballers and doing well in your career, but if you're the entry-level candidate who is like just really wants to work in space, is there a need across the aerospace mission, and how do those candidates like what is that career path like? And maybe one of you can speak to your own personal experience of like, how that worked for you. Who wants to take that one? Entry-level candidate. Nick.
I'll take a shot at the entry-level candidate. I again, since I kind of didn't come in entry-level, I came in with 13 years of experience. Actually, that is probably the typical candidate that we see, is someone that has worked someplace else. Maybe they've come with a military background, may have spent 20, 25 years with the military. I think the key to success in our company is, Michelle said the word collaboration. We are a collaborative company. We tackle things in teams, so you need to be able to work in a team environment. Yes, there are specialties, skill sets where perhaps if you're like a software coder, you need to go off and not be disturbed, but that coder needs to work as part of a larger team to deliver a capability to a client. So I think when I left the Air Force, I had this sense of team with the Air Force, and I didn't lose that with Booz Allen, because we work collaboratively, not only just in space and in aerospace, but we will work with our other employees that support the Navy, the Army, maybe even the FBI. We've actually partnered with some of our clients in the FBI with some DevSecOps capabilities that we've instituted here for the Space Force, because they were trying to get to something similar. So I'd say if you're looking to come in with a company like Booz Allen, you need to come in with the focus of how can I help the team and help my client.
Yeah, and I'll tack on to that if that's all right. I think when we talk about entry-level people, especially from a tech perspective, I love entry-level people. They're awesome, right? Because entry-level people come in and they're excited, and they've got energy and they add a lot to the team. I think to be successful as an entry-level person, I would kind of put it in a couple things. One is have some sense of enthusiasm, because I don't want to put this the wrong way, that no offense, if you just graduated from college, like you learned some great skills, you don't know a lot yet. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine, because you've got, so what do you have? You have energy, you've got curiosity, right? And you've got a drive to learn, and you're connected to what's the latest thing in industry. So you do bring a lot, right? But to be successful, it's show up and say, hey, what's going on? how does this work? I don't know how, I know I'm doing this. How does this work? That's interesting. I want to learn about that. And don't be afraid to ask those questions, because that's, I mean, truthfully, that's how I learn stuff every day. I mean, I call people, whether it's stuff internal to Booz Allen, I'm like, hey, how does this finance thing that work? Matt, can you help me out with this? Because this is super weird, you know, or I've talked to Michelle and we've talked various things in the cloud, and it's like, hey, we're doing this thing on an on-premise infrastructure, but I don't know, we're kind of thinking the cloud, like, can we do this? Like, we couldn't do this 3 years ago, but what's changed? So I think if you come in with that attitude, I think you'll be incredibly successful. I really, really do. I think it's the place for you. And that allows you to grow in that technology, right? So and we'll talk more about upskilling and all those things, but those are the big things that allow you to push and grow. So entry level is great because you come in and can kind of find the thing that you're really passionate about.
Yeah, and some specifics around that. When I hire folks, so go look on the website with Olivia and coordinating with her on looking at the open requisitions recs, and if you submit to one of them, so for example, you're a software person or data person and you have Java, great. Submit to the ones that have Java in the description. And then what I do is, hey, like, just tip, if you know Java, I can train you in about any language. So what I do is I bring you in and then I pair you with somebody that is doing the exact language or the exact way that we do it here. And we pair. So, Java, Python, those are very foundational skills, or C++ or whatever language you have experience in. But again, I pair you with people so that you're not on your own. We have training programs. We have enabling solution type training programs. We've got packages that Olivia will talk to you about on specifics of education, that we reimburse people for education if you don't have the exact skills. So like Nick and Matt both said, just energy, you want to be here, you have some skills, you're excited about it, we can train you. So, I think there's a lot of options in that area.
I love it. So obviously commercial space gets a lot of recognition right now. Why defense aerospace? Why is that a place to start or build or pivot in your career? Matt, you want to touch on that?
Well, yeah, Michelle addressed it best earlier. We have some very unfriendly actors out there across the world that, with technology proliferation, it is amazing how many countries now have capabilities in space, and not all of them want to use it for the greater good of mankind. They want to use it for their country and getting an advantage over another country. And it is the high ground right now. Whereas we moved to aircraft in World War I and World War II, now it's space is how warfare is fought in terms of the high ground and situational awareness and communications, all of that stuff going down to folks that might actually be pulling triggers, doing whatnot on the ground. So I think it's incredibly important because our country's desire to have freedom of action in space is under threat right now. And that has an impact on all of our allies, and it has an impact on others who want to enter into space, but might not be seen as a friendly nation to some of the other countries who are doing some very aggressive things in space right now. So if you want to be part of that solution to keep space free and open for the betterment of the planet and mankind, this is a great place to be to help with that problem.
Yeah, and yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
I'll say I would kind of second that. Not having a military background, and I'm older, I'm 45, let's not spread that around, but I want to do the right thing in my life. I want to do the right thing in the world. I want to make a difference in this world while I'm here. And I have 3 young kids, and I want to make a difference. There's a time and place to be a software developer to make somebody click on an ad more. I mean, maybe it's going to increase technology, great, but let's use that for the greater good. And so that's really, I'm in it for the greater good of society and to do the right thing in my life, really. I know that sounds really weird, but it is. It's true.
Well, I'll just tag on. I would say I think a lot of people at Booz Allen feel similar to Michelle, and I do as well. But I had one more thing on there that, Matt talked about the great for the, it's for our nation and security. Michelle talked about the greater good. space is just kind of cool. I don't know what else to say, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm about the same age as Michelle. I mean, I watch Star Wars, I watch Star Trek. Like, we're really doing those things, right? We're really doing those things. Space is super far away. I can sit, I mean, I live in Colorado, okay, so I can look up at the sky, and like sometimes you can see LEO satellites like going across that. I get to point those out to my kids. Of course, they think I work on every satellite, right? Which is like, yeah, of course Dad does. But the point I want to make is it's just cool. It really is. I mean, you know, in the grand scheme of things, with all due respect to people who work on airplanes, with all due respect to people who work on cars, which is also super fine and good, we work on stuff that goes 30,000 kilometers up or whatever it is in space. It's a really hard problem. It's a really neat problem, and it's something where there's a lot of visibility, and frankly, there's a lot of money, right? So it's nice to be in an industry that is funded, that is growing, that is constantly changing and evolving. So it makes the day-to-day really fun. So all of those other things are important. They make it really meaningful. Hands this way for those folks. But it frankly, it just makes the day-to-day really fun, knowing that you're doing something that's pretty cool.
I mean, it does bring together a lot of opportunities, and especially having the Space Force there. And we kind of talked about space has always been a cool mission, but maybe just, depending on where you're at, somewhat underfunded mission. So if you're in R&D, or if you have a lot of interest in a lot of these, I mean, Space Force is working on a lot of cool projects right now. So it has opened up the diversity of the career field, which from a pragmatic career perspective is always great. And I love what you guys say about mission. You know, there's a ton of, you know, veterans in our audience, in our community, and so they appreciate that service and giving back. And I think even the average entry level like person coming out of college, even your buddy program on tech careers, you know, that's been a hot topic with COVID, like what's happened with the workplace work dynamics. And I do think the culture of Booz Allen, the culture around aerospace, defense industry kind of bakes and builds that in a meaningful way. So if you're looking for kind of a mission that matters, defense and aerospace, I get on a tangent. You guys get me all excited about these career fields. I'm ready to go. Sign me up, Booz Allen. Give me a job. So that ties into my next question, which is about the personally rewarding aspects of it, which you kind of already addressed already, but maybe we'll tee into that again. So even what it makes this mission really, you know, obviously big picture, you're helping to defend the nation, but also from a personal level, how is this career field personally rewarding to you? Matt, do you have any thoughts?
I think it's working a problem together with other people for the solution. That's extremely rewarding to me. And I bring some specific skill sets, but I don't have some of the technical skill sets like with Nick and Michelle that they bring. So working with technical folks, working with strategy folks, working with people who say, yeah, but this is how that fits in with the doctrine of the client. So we would need to fit it into this type of course of action. That is very rewarding because I think that I'm learning something every day from people, whether they're higher or lower than me in the organization. So you want to keep your ears open. And the fact that you can provide something valuable into, like Nick was saying, something really complex in space, and you might not think, well, I'm not really an aerospace engineer, but you could still have a positive impact on a solution that helps a client with something that they're worried about.
Michelle, do you have any thoughts on the personally rewarding nature of the work you do?
You know, it comes down to the people, to be honest. There's very competent people that work in Booz Allen, and I like working with competent people. It's enjoyable. They're trying to improve themselves, which makes me, it ups my game in my personal life, in my, professional life, all that. I want to be a better person because I'm around good people. And so it really ups me as a person in my entire, everything that's around me. And so again, I go to work to hang out with Matt and Nick and solve problems together, and it's fun. And so it's just really the people.
I hear occasionally they'll like dress up as Star Wars characters or Star Trek, or maybe that was an option on the table. So I just say I'd go to work with that.
Little bit.
Okay, well, I will. All right, so I will cop to. We do have all hands. Okay, in the Colorado. If anybody's in Colorado Springs, I will hands down say that the Colorado Springs Booz Allen office has the best all hands, for sure in the firm and within Booz Allen, but I would also go as far as to say I would put our all hands agenda and entertainment factor with anybody in industry. So anybody wants to, feel free to send me a chat. I will fight that to the death. I have dressed up as the Mandalorian. I have dressed up as a Trolls character. I dressed up as the Statue of Liberty, and I have dressed up as a Spring Breaker, which was also entertaining. So just throwing that out there. It is a good time. But, you know, I just want to sort of triple down here on people. And I promise Matt, Michelle, and I didn't coordinate this. But the reality is at Booz Allen, it really is all about the people. It's a really high caliber of people, and there's a culture that basically sets that standard, right? It's about taking care of the whole person. So I've had awesome leaders have chats with me about, you know, very personal things, like how things going. You're like, oh, this is struggling. Hey, let's maybe we dial down for a little bit while we figure this out. Okay, that's, you know, give me the assurance that that's okay. I've had times where I've looked at it from a career perspective and said, hey, I really want to get into this, and help me get into that kind of thing. I've got connections at Booz Allen that I would consider close, really close colleagues in probably 20 different offices across the country. In fact, I had a chat today with somebody in the Rome, New York office. I'm probably going to connect him up with somebody in our Central Maryland office to do something that's going to deliver like out of Virginia. I mean, it's pretty amazing how the people get connected. I think there's not a lot of things that you can do to, we'll say, not fit in at Booz Allen, right? We've got a really broad culture. It's a really big tent. But I think the two things, right, is I don't think there's any tolerance at Booz Allen for people who are jerks. I don't know what the right word is, right? But we don't have a lot of them, but those people do not do well here, right? If you're not willing to be civil and professional, and you're not willing to, you know, engage with folks, like if you're an introvert, that's cool, that's fine, right? But the people who are, you know, collaborative, who want to work with their peers, who want to grab onto the team, and who are looking to be successful together, right? That's who's successful here, and that's who we collect, right? We suss that out in the interview. So that just makes that whole culture a great place to be. And it's, frankly, it's the reason why I'm still here, and I plan to be here for, I don't know how many years I've got left, but however many that is, that's generally the plan because of the folks that work here.
When can I visit the Colorado office and participate in that all hands? That's what I want to know. Is it virtual? Send me a Teams invite. I feel like that's like a trophy waiting to happen.
It is. We did a virtual all hands during COVID. It was pretty successful. Now we're back to in person, but probably sometime this fall. So for all of you on the line, if you get on board before the fall, you too can experience the Colorado Springs all hands.
Okay, I think that's a competition out there. I'm ready. If anybody wants to challenge Booz Allen on the best all hands, tell me what your company has on offer. Give us your examples. I feel like there's like a clearance jobs contest in the making there, Nick. So I want to get to you, Olivia, a little bit. We talked a little bit about the hiring process, to some extent teased to it. Kind of walk through what that might look like for someone who is, again, we've just heard Nick talk. We're all done. There's costumes, there's great all hands, there's collaboration, there's all the things you want. Collaboration, costumes, community. We can keep the C's going.
Yeah, I think to everyone's point that's spoken so far about why they love Booz Allen and the people, we have created a recruiting approach that hopefully mirrors that. I would also echo every sentiment there and just say my favorite thing about Booz Allen is that you feel like you're doing a group project with everybody who cares about the same end goal, and you don't have to worry about, handing off something and somebody not picking up the slack. You're just, I think, Michelle, you said it, you're just surrounded by competent people, which is sometimes oddly unique, and it's really fun. But ultimately, we've created this approach, this recruiting approach and candidate journey that we feel is very candidate centric. We've inserted a ton of checkpoints throughout the candidate journey to get feedback on how we're doing, what we can improve, ultimately what's going well, and where we can make adjustments from our candidates. And what has been shared is the importance of transparency and relationships throughout the entire recruitment process. So we want to make sure that a candidate knows what to expect, when to expect it, and who they're going to get information from as they begin the recruitment process for us. So you'll see on this slide the candidate experience journey map, and that's really just a visualization of what you can expect, who you will meet, and when you will meet them. I won't drone on about all of the details of each step. Happy to answer specific questions if you have them. But ultimately, you probably, I'm sure some of you have looked at our website to review our careers page and notice that our job search function is pretty robust, and you can search by keyword, clearance level, location, remote opportunities if that's what you're ultimately seeking. So if you see a position that aligns with what you're looking for, we of course welcome you to apply, and then each application is reviewed by someone on our talent team. And if there's a match, then a recruiter will contact you to start the discussion about joining Booz Allen. If you don't see something immediately that fits your needs, and you've enjoyed what you've experienced today and what you've heard from our team members, we welcome you to join our what we call talent community. And there on that page, you can sign up for and select into updates around what you're interested in that can share updates around events that are relevant to you, specific job alerts, surrounding keywords, locations, clearances, that kind of thing. And so, ultimately that can give you some direct, personal, relevant alerts about roles and things that you should be interested in. And so, ultimately we know that, looking for a job can feel like a daunting task. We really tried to put all of our resources in one place to give you the best opportunity to succeed as a candidate with us. And so on our careers page, you'll find so many things from, details around the candidate experience, a deeper dive into this candidate journey map, as well as interview tips, benefits information, and other resources to get you started thinking about not only your candidate journey, but more holistically what it looks like to be an employee with Booz Allen, should you be selected and onboarded with us. So we really hope you would take advantage of those things. There are always points in our interview process and pre-interview where we're helping prepare candidates for interviews. So we hope that all that effort is taken from our candidates and actually used, because it can actually help you get a leg up in the process. But yeah, happy to answer any questions if anybody has any more specifically about any step in this journey. And good luck.
I did get a question about the clearance piece of it. You asked about clearance levels. Do you have clearance sponsorship opportunities too? Are you able to sponsor clearances for somebody who doesn't have a clearance coming in for any of your positions?
Yeah, so there are positions that you'll see them called, I believe, ability to obtain a clearance. And ultimately that means that the position does ultimately require a clearance, but that it's not required as a barrier to enter to be hired into Booz Allen. So ultimately, if we hire someone in a position that does require a clearance, we would, sponsor them in their journey to get that.
And they're moving a lot faster than they used to. I can say a clearance job, so they're not quite as painful as they used to be. And again, like read up with those articles and content to know about your, what to do to prepare, and that can certainly make the process also a lot faster too. And it is great when you find a company that is able to take that step and sponsor, especially for those entry level or college candidates, new folks coming in. We always get the remote hybrid question. I don't know if that's for you, Olivia, or if anybody can talk to that on their teams. Like, what does the split of remote hybrid work currently look like?
Do you mean in terms of like the split of how many jobs we have that fall into each category, or what is the difference in remote and hybrid?
They're asking, like, are there remote hybrid work positions supporting this mission, or even Booz Allen more broadly? Is remote hybrid an option on these teams, I think is a question.
So I'll answer broadly, and then if anyone else wants to answer more specifically about their locations, really highly cleared positions, very unlikely, but some of the other positions we do have a ton of remote opportunities and hybrid opportunities, which would ultimately mean a mix of at home and in the office or on client site. So that is something that can be filtered through on our careers site and is specifically stated in a job description if a job is remote.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I can just chime in too. I think, like the remote versus hybrid versus in office, doing that with a clearance on classified work, that's something we're all adjusting to, right? Is the best way to put it. And I think we've gotten pretty good at Booz Allen. But it's definitely an adjustment and a change. So really what I've seen a lot of Booz Allen project leaders look at and be very successful in is to say, okay, well, let's really think about the nature of the work, right? And let's even try to expand that a little bit. Do I have to have somebody coming in on site 5 days a week? Frankly, there's a project I work with in LA. The answer is yes, right? There are those jobs out there. I've got other work in Colorado that's classified. I need people to be on site periodically to work on a specific sort of production instance of a system, but they do 75% of the work on a unclassified development instance of the infrastructure. And so in that case, we can go off and say, okay, cool. We want you to come in, on average a day a week, but we can sort of be flexible there for the other time and depending on where the team is going. And I don't see that changing, right, for those types of jobs. So I think the answer is Olivia said, we really do have a broad spectrum of opportunities, really even across different locations and across mission sets. So space being one that I think just is a representative of what we're doing. So, filter on what you're looking for. And what I would just say is be upfront and honest with yourself and with the recruiter and the team. I'm looking for X. Can this support this? Could this support this long term? And I think the last thing I'll leave you with, and it kind of touches on something you said earlier, Lindy, and I think both Lindy and Olivia, we're looking for long-term fits at Booz Allen, right?
So like when I have a job break, yeah, I typically do have a position. I need someone to do this work. Like that is true. But I'm not looking to hire somebody to do that work. I'm looking to hire somebody more broadly into the Booz Allen community and in the Booz Allen culture. So I'm thinking about, hey, is this person going to be a good fit 20 years down the road for this job? So again, with the clearances and the sponsorships, and yeah, all that is challenging, and all of that is something that we work as we go forward. Same thing with the hybrid remote, right? Like you might be full-time on site for this particular project, and 2 years from now, you might have the option to go full-time remote, or vice versa as your circumstances change and projects change. So my advice would be really take that long-term approach, because that's definitely how we look at things from a long-term sort of employee relationship.
Yeah, Lindy, I'd like to expand on that because I think what Nick just said there was really important. And what I have heard from time and time again from folks who have worked for many different contracting organizations that support the government, we are a little bit different, and we are looking to hire for a career. Every other place that I have interviewed with, it felt like you were being interviewed for a contract. Are you a right fit for this contract? Here's what it is. And to Nick's point, we are trying to find people who can work at our company for a career. And I think what that means for the individual is you don't have to change companies every time you want to start doing something different or learn something different. You can do that within Booz Allen because the kind of work we do is so diverse. Granted, we might not be able to do it tomorrow if you say, hey, I want to stop doing what I'm doing today and jump to this tomorrow. But we will work a plan with each staff member and say, well, tell me what is it that you want to do, and try to work a strategy to get them to move to that other type of work that they're most interested in doing. And the great thing about that is you don't have to start your 401k all over again. You don't have to figure out new medical benefits because one company provides different benefits than the other. You don't have to deal with that, and you get to really learn a company and the network so that you can be more efficient in your job, regardless of the different contract that you're currently supporting.
Yeah, I feel like there's a common thread here. You keep talking about like the caliber and the competence of the community, and when you're hiring for a career, it's all the C's. Alliteration is my love language, but you do build that. I mean, I think that makes it unique, and it makes people want to stay then, which is kind of is great. And I think it's, again, an anomaly sometimes in the defense contracting community. So the extent that you can find that, and you see that across the folks that we interview here at Booz Allen, there's folks that have really like pursued that, are pursuing excellence in their careers every day, and then it's feeding their job and career satisfaction. So we did get a question come in about internship opportunities. Again, we're teeing to the entry level crowd today. So do you have internship opportunities for any of you in your scope of work, or maybe Olivia, you could speak to that as well?
We do. I'll start off because I've helped work with our summer internship program that Booz Allen sponsors on an annual basis. So there are multiple internship programs that we have, but probably the big one that we have across the firm is called the summer internship program. It's kind of a competition, so we like to make it fun. Where we have pre-COVID, it was based on different geographies. You'd get 4 or 5 interns. They tend to be folks between their junior and senior year in school. And they work on a specific project, and that project gets rated. They get to brief it to some of our senior partners in the firm on the impact that this could have and how they solve the problem. And we choose who the top 3 or 4 projects are for the firm, which makes it fun because it's a little bit competitive. But part of that is also those interns getting their name in the door with us. We're already saying, hey, great. These are the 4 or 5 folks that I have that I want to be able to offer a job for because I have an opportunity. Or, hey, I noticed that another location has an opportunity for someone like this. I had a great experience with this intern. We'll share that intern's name and background with that other account so that we can keep track of those folks as they're going, finishing up their senior year. And in some cases, we might even set up a part-time job with that individual to employ them immediately so they can finish their senior year, but be employed with Booz Allen right after the internship completes on a part-time basis. And that's done on an individual by individual. So there are a lot of opportunities for internship. I would encourage anybody who's interested, you want to start looking and applying for those usually in the December to January timeframe of your junior year, because that's when we start taking in candidates, and we'll neck that down usually in the March timeframe.
Awesome. We had a question also coming about certifications or qualifications. I know, Michelle, you mentioned kind of Java earlier. Are there any specific, maybe if somebody's looking at like what are some of the hotter, maybe especially to the aerospace career track, are there certain certifications, qualifications that are going to be really pop?
Yeah, a lot of the different, whatever language, computer science software language that you like, you can be certified in that. There's a lot of AWS type certifications, architect, platform, system administrator, what you're interested in, do what you want to do because you're going to be happier doing that. So those are some of the certifications. And then on the website of our Open Recs, we do give guidance on certifications. There's a lot of, as you can imagine, cyber's getting pretty big, and there's a lot of like cyber CISSP type cyber certification. So that all can be found on the website in each rec. But then again, do what you want, and then we'll find that match.
Nick, did you have anything on that too?
I'll tack on 2. One, I'll say if anybody on the phone can spell Kubernetes, you should call me because that is really, really prevalent in the DoD right now, and those folks are hard to find. So just or call Olivia, just do that. But I mean, I'm actually, I was going to say on a more serious note, but I'm actually quite serious about that. But I think really what it comes down to is, as Michelle said, do something you're interested in. And truthfully, as I'm looking at hiring people, right? I mean, I'm not interested in. I've got 15 different entry-level certifications across a wide swath of things. That's fine. It's great. It's good to sample things. But just going off and saying, hey, I think I might want to do infrastructure. I am an infrastructure person. So I'm going to get even an entry-level AWS cert, right? Says I'm learning, I'm engaged, I'm going to continue to develop. That's super.
right? Like that's the kind of stuff I look for. So it's not so much like I need this huge quantity. I like seeing people who are picking an area and kind of going and saying, oh, I'm going to explore this, right? Even if it's entry level. Now, if it's beyond entry level, like all the better, right? Even bigger win. But just showing that ability to grow and develop, because whether it's just space in general or whether it's technology, and gosh forbid technology and space, it changes really fast. Things are way different than when I started, but they were way different than they were 2 years ago. So if you can show the ability to kind of keep up and to sort of consistently kind of learn a little bit of the new thing and keep that in your toolbox, that's really going to help you be successful. And it's going to show me that you're able to be successful as well.
Yeah, and it kind of ties in. I wanted to talk about upskilling a little bit. So, because that comes out of the veteran community or folks, like, are there certain upskilling tracks that are particularly relevant? You mentioned that a little bit, kind of, Michelle, with your buddy concept earlier, but just, I know that's just always a hot topic. So if somebody really has an interest in this, is it pursuing a cert? Is it just applying and finding the right position? Like, what's a good upskilling track or recommendation?
Yeah, similar to what Nick said, just showing us a little bit that you have the initiative to continue to learn, great. Pairing when you get here, and then we also have programs to get you additional certifications as needed, and we can work with you on that as you come in, and maybe the clients are requiring it or something. And so we've got programs to then upskill yourself, and we've got internal degree type programs, or we can work with other educational entities that we reimburse for as well. So it's just that desire to learn and desire in the area, in the technical or specific area that you want to work in. And if you don't have a specific, sometimes when you're come out of college and you're entry level, you know what my advice is, say yes. So when I came out of college, Lockheed said, hey, do you want a job in space? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea if I do or not, but yeah, I do. And then you find your path as you go forward, and you find those skills that you resonate with or that you like more. And so when you're entry level and beginning, just try stuff out, try different things out, and then you can kind of gauge where you want to end up going.
I like that a lot, Michelle. I was going to say, I think that's good advice. Forget entry level. I think that's good advice just across the board, and it helps what makes people, I'm thinking about putting that on my whiteboard, is just say yes. It's a great, but I think, when we talk about upskilling, right, Michelle kind of mentioned this, the upskilling, and frankly, I've been with Booz Allen a while now, so I don't have a huge amount of comparison, at least recently. But our training is fabulous, right? There are so many different ways. And I think that's what gets me excited, and I try to push down to my team, and they've really embraced that, is if you're an online learner and you're thinking, hey, like, I don't want to do this like formal class thing, but if for anybody who's familiar with like Udemy, like we have Udemy subscriptions. You want to go on and get a path. Not only that, but there are people at Booz Allen who've created, say, you want to be a cloud architect, right? There's like a path, right? Okay, to these 12 Udemy courses or 5 Udemy courses, or start here, right? You want to learn Kubernetes? I don't want to say I know at least how to spell Kubernetes, but I took basically Kubernetes for managers via Udemy. I learned all about virtualization, right, via Udemy. That worked really well for me because I could download it to my phone, actually, and I did it when I was traveling quite a bit back and forth on I had a not quite remote assignment. I was flying a lot. And that worked great, right? That was awesome for what I needed. I've got other people that want to sit down and do kind of like a cohort thing, right? They sort of go through a training program together. I hired one junior cloud engineer into what we call our Tech Excellence program, had some infrastructure stuff, came right out of the military. He is amazing. He's doing awesome. I can't get him back now because the different projects that have, like, he's gone and helped out, they're basically demanding of his time. And then kind of the more traditional, hey, I want to go get a degree or a specific, educational academic cert in one program. Well, we've got funding for that, right? So all of those things kind of play in together to how do you learn? How do you want to grow? There's so many different options there. And that's what I think is really special about our program, and, how that appeals to me. I've got
I mean, not to be like too personal, like I got 2 little kids, like my kid's busy, right? It's hard. So I can do it in small chunks. That might, maybe when someday my kids get older and now I've got all this time, like where did my time, where did my time come from? Then maybe I want to do it in bigger chunks. But all of those options are available, which I just think is so cool.
No, I love that. We're getting close to time, so I want to give everybody a chance to comment again and just kind of talk about this moment in defense aerospace careers at Booz Allen. Why is now a great time to jump in and pursue this career opportunity, regardless of where you're at? Because again, Booz Allen has opportunities for you across career tracks, across skill levels, across experience levels. But why is this moment and this time and aerospace at Booz Allen the place to be? Starting with you, Matt.
Yeah, first of all, I think as a potential employee, you are in a great position right now because we have a labor shortage. There is a labor shortage. You can turn on the nightly news and you hear about, it seems like every industry is struggling to find good staff. We're no different. Only some of our requirements, like we talked about on this call with clearances, that makes it even more complex. It starts narrowing down the people that we can bring onto certain projects. We talked a little bit about the challenges that we face from the threats in space right now. We talked about to be in a growing industry, and it's exploding on the commercial side in space, but also on the defense and national security sides of space, because if you look at the federal budget, those areas of the budget are growing, whereas others are taking hits. So it's much more fun to be in an area where you're getting the funding you need to do the job than where you're getting cuts every year. So there's just tremendous opportunity right now. We are at the cusp of, I think, another technology leap, because a lot of the assets that we have in space right now have been up there for a while. So we're looking to bring on new technologies. So it is going to be a fun and exciting time in an industry that's growing.
And same to you, Michelle.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we're on an upswing, to be honest, and it's exciting to go to work right now. It's just the innovation that's occurring is it's just fun to be around. And I have a longer view, as you heard before. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And so back in the day, software was new and data was new, and maybe the technologies and maybe it didn't quite work. It wasn't nearly as good as it is today. And now I see that the maturity of software and data on the commercial side and the options that we have are really mature, and they work consistently. And we have a lot of options now. It's not just custom options for our environment. There's a lot of commercial options to be had and to use. And so now it's not such a like, oh my gosh, I got to figure that. It's like, oh, we've got 4 or 5 options, and let's use the best one and let's bring it in here, and we're going to make it happen. And this is going to, so it's just exciting, and we get a lot accomplished right now because we are in the maturity phase of software and solutions. So it's just fun. I get up and I really do enjoy going to work. I do work remotely a good amount, and it's really fun for me too. So I really am enjoying it, and I feel like we're in an upswing. I don't know, Nick, do you kind of feel that same way as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, growth is great, right? Booz Allen's growing, the space industry is growing, the space defense business is growing, and truthfully, there's nothing on the horizon that says that those things are going to slow down, right? They simply can't, because of where technology is going outside in the commercial realm, where adversaries are going. So it's this cool train. It's a really good time to jump on, basically. Growth is a lot of fun. We get pressure from our bosses, right? Everybody's got a boss. We get pressure from our bosses to bring on more people, right? Lean forward. And why do they say lean forward and bring on people? Because they've got confidence that the funding and the budget and the growth in space is going to be there. And frankly, it is. So help us out. Why? Because, there is a lot of hey, go find good people, bring on good people. And we have plenty of things for them to do. We've got lots of needs and we've got lots of growth areas. And then I think number two, just I'll sort of tie it back to the infrastructure side that I get really excited about is, the internet is kind of old now, right? Like, I don't know, like 30, 40 years, like, oh, the internet's old, right? But the internet's still amazing, right? The internet allows us to pass data to anybody, anywhere. And what we hear from the clients all the time is, I need to do that too. Well, they can't. So we talk about clearance jobs. Well, why do we need clearances? They can't because we've got secure processing, we've got secure systems. They don't all connect, they don't all play nice to each other. We got these systems that are kind of isolated. As Michelle talked about, we had all these like sort of custom one-off solutions. That's all changing. That's all changing. The technology exists to fix that. And I can't tell you how many clients come in and we sort of joke about it. It's like, I want the super network. I want to connect to anybody, anywhere, at any level, at any time I want to. I don't want it to be too expensive. I want it to be perfect. Well, that's really hard. It's terrifying to think about the scale of that, but it's also super exciting, and we're doing it. So it's just a really good time to be in this space, in this industry, and at Booz Allen.
I love it. The sound bites write themselves. Olivia, anything else that you wanted to close on for candidates who are interested in all of these amazing Booz Allen positions?
I just think, thinking from more like the people services side, I mean, just as Booz Allen is pivoting, very quickly and making changes and providing, different solutions in the technology world. I mean, so are we in the people services responding to this crazy market. So we are constantly thinking about how to retain our employees, make a happy employee, and we pivot really quickly and to make those changes, whether that's in benefits, compensation, upskilling, opportunities within the organization. So we are always thinking about, what the long-term employment journey looks like at Booz Allen, and are excited, to host anyone who's ready to take it on.
I love it. Well, hopefully you have at least a couple of new Booz Allen employees from this chat thread here. I'm counting on it. So definitely follow up with the questions. These conversations always get me excited. Just the passion that people bring to it, enthusiasm. I'm just saying you cannot replicate it. These people are this genuinely excited about their careers and passionate about doing good work, and it makes you want to join their team. So if you have skills in this area, definitely be in contact with Olivia and check out what Booz Allen has to offer. Visit careers.boozallen.com, get involved in their talent communities and pipelining, because this is a really exciting time in defense and aerospace. And I think the more we can convince candidates across different sectors that they're upskilling, they're reskilling, they're onboarding, and Booz Allen's going to have a great career for you. So I appreciate everybody who joined us. I appreciate so much your time. Nick, I'm going to be at your office in Colorado this fall in a costume. Just wait. On that note, thank you everyone for joining the webinar. I appreciate it.
Okay, appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you.